Ladies and gentlemen, every single morning, two versions of you wake up, the one that wants comfort and the one that craves greatness. The question is, which one are you going to feed today? Because success doesn't start when the world is watching. It starts in the silence, before the sun rises, when no one's there to applaud you. The habits you build before the day begins will decide who you become when it ends. So if you're ready to stop living on autopilot and start taking control of your destiny, then listen closely, because the next few minutes might just change the way you live every morning for the rest of your life. Ladies and gentlemen, success doesn't begin at your desk, in your meetings, or when the world starts demanding your attention. It begins the moment you open your eyes. The way you start your morning determines the tone for the entire day. It sets the rhythm, the energy, and the mindset that carries you through every challenge ahead. Most people wake up reacting, grabbing their phones, scrolling through notifications, responding to the world before they've even responded to themselves. But the truly successful, the ones who lead, who rise, who command their lives, they begin their mornings with intention, precision, and discipline. The first habit that shapes everything else is winning your morning before it begins. That means waking up early, not just to have more time, but to take ownership of your time. When you wake up before the noise, before the world starts pulling at you, you gain clarity, you gain control. Those early hours are your sacred ground, a space where you can think, move, and breathe without interruption. You build discipline every time you rise when you said you would. You teach your body and your mind that you, not comfort, not convenience, run your life. And that discipline bleeds into everything else you do. Because if you can control your morning, you can control your day. And if you can control your day, you can control your destiny. The second habit is movement. Because success is not just mental, it's physical. Your mind performs best when your body is strong and alive. When you move your body first thing in the morning, you send a message to yourself. I am awake, I am ready, I am alive. Whether it's a workout, a run, or a series of stretches, the goal is to get your blood flowing and your energy rising. When you sweat, you release stress and tension. You build stamina, not just for your body, but for your life. Because if you can push through physical discomfort, you can push through emotional and mental barriers too. Your body becomes the vehicle of your power, and the stronger that vehicle, the farther you go. The third habit is silence. In a world addicted to noise, stillness is a weapon. Take time every morning to be alone with your thoughts. No phone, no music, no distractions. Sit in silence, breathe deeply, and center yourself. Let your mind settle, your heart slow down, and your focus sharpen. This is where clarity is born. This is where you find direction before the chaos begins. Most people spend their days reacting because they never take time to think. But if you begin each morning with silence, you'll start making choices from strength, not emotion. You'll lead your day instead of chasing it. The fourth habit is feeding your mind before the world feeds it for you. What you put into your mind the first thing in the morning matters more than you realize. If you begin your day scrolling through negativity, comparing your life, or reading headlines that fill you with fear, you've already surrendered your peace. Instead, fill your mind with power. Read something that inspires you, listen to a podcast that fuels you, study something that expands your understanding. You are training your mind for battle every single morning. When you start your day feeding your intellect and your spirit, you become mentally armored against the noise of the world. Knowledge becomes your strength, and perspective becomes your protection. The fifth habit is setting your intention for the day. You don't walk into battle without a plan. You don't build success without direction. Take a few minutes each morning to ask yourself, what do I want from today? Who do I want to be today? What will I not allow to shake me? Write it down, speak it out loud. When you set your intention, you align your thoughts, emotions, and actions. Whys. You create a map that guides your behavior no matter what comes your way. Without an intention, your day owns you. With intention, you own your day. Successful people don't leave their days to chance. They direct them with precision. They know what they stand for, what they're working toward, and what kind of energy they want to bring into every space they enter. The sixth habit is gratitude. Not the kind you post about, but the kind that grounds you. Take a few moments to recognize what you already have: your health, your breath, your abilities, your opportunities. Gratitude turns pressure into perspective. It reminds you that success isn't about having more, it's about being more. When you begin your day acknowledging what's already good in your life, you train your mind to see abundance instead of lack, opportunity instead of obstacles. You become calmer, stronger, and more resilient. Gratitude doesn't make you complacent. It gives you the emotional stability to keep going when things get hard. It roots you in strength, not in fear. But these habits aren't just boxes to check. They're the foundation for mental armor. Because life will hit you, people will disappoint you, circumstances will test you. You can't always control what happens, but you can control how prepared you are for it. These habits build that preparation. When you wake early, you show yourself that you are in charge. When you move your body, you awaken your power. When you embrace silence, you sharpen your awareness. When you feed your mind, you fortify your spirit. When you set intention, you direct your purpose. And when you practice gratitude, you protect your peace. There's no magic formula for success, no secret hack that separates the extraordinary from the ordinary. It's discipline, consistency, and the quiet choices you make when no one's watching. It's showing up for yourself even when motivation fades. Because motivation is temporary, but habits are permanent. They are the systems that sustain you when willpower runs dry. The truth is, most people know what to do, they just don't do it. They want the rewards without the routine, but greatness doesn't come from wanting. It comes from working. It comes from mastering the fundamentals every single day, especially when you don't feel like it. You can't build a strong life on weak habits. You can't expect peak performance from a mind that wakes up chaotic. If you want to rise higher, you must start lower, with the basics. That's what separates those who achieve from those who only dream. The most successful people in the world are not necessarily the smartest or the most talented. They are simply the most consistent. They win their mornings, and because of that, they win their lives. Every morning is a test of character. The alarm goes off, and a battle begins, not against the world, but against yourself. The weaker voice tells you to stay in bed, to take it easy, to delay the day. The stronger voice says, get up, move, lead. Which one you listen to determines the life you build. Those small choices compound into massive change. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, you strengthen your identity. You start seeing yourself as someone who follows through, someone who commands their life. And when you repeat these 6 habits long enough, they stop being tasks. They become your way of being. You wake up with clarity, you move with energy, you think with focus, you plan with intention, you live with gratitude. The chaos around you no longer dictates the rhythm within you. You become calm in the storm, focused amid distraction, unshakable in uncertainty, because you know you've already won your morning, and that means you've already won your day. And as you continue to practice these habits, something remarkable begins to happen. You stop chasing success, and success starts to flow toward you. Not because of luck, not because of timing, but because you've built a foundation that attracts results. You've disciplined your mind, conditioned your body, and aligned your focus. The world responds differently to a person who moves with intention. People sense your energy before you speak. They feel your strength before they even know your name. That's the power of consistency. It silently reshapes your entire presence. When you build powerful mornings, you build trust with yourself. Every time you follow through on your commitments, you reinforce your identity as someone who does what they say they'll do. And that identity is everything, because the real battle of success is not external, it's internal. It's not about conquering the world before you've conquered your mind. Once you learn to master your inner voice, to take command of your actions in the small, unseen moments, you become unstoppable in the visible ones. Discipline builds confidence, and confidence builds momentum. The reason so many people never reach their potential isn't because they lack talent. It's because they lack structure. They move through their mornings like passengers instead of pilots. But you weren't designed to drift. You were built to direct. That's why these habits matter. They aren't rituals for the sake of appearance. They're systems of control. They remind you that your time, your energy, and your focus are your greatest assets. Protect them like gold. Don't let distractions, drama, or laziness steal what you've worked so hard to gain. When you wake up early, it's not just about time. It's about reclaiming ownership. You're saying, "This is my life, and I will not surrender it to chaos." You begin to notice how much clearer your mind, becomes when you start your day with purpose. You make better decisions, you speak with confidence, you move with precision. That early start gives you something no one else can give you, an edge. It's the edge of self-command. And then there's movement. Think about how your body feels when you neglect it for days. Sluggish, heavy, unmotivated. That's not just physical fatigue, it's mental stagnation. When you move your body, you unlock energy that fuels your goals. Every drop of sweat is proof that you're willing to work for what you want. You're building endurance not just for your workouts, but for the grind of life itself. The stronger you become physically, the more mental resilience you build. Strength is not just about muscles, it's about mindset. The discipline it takes to train your body every morning is the same discipline that carries you through tough meetings, unexpected setbacks, and long nights when others quit. Silence becomes your sanctuary. The more chaotic the world gets, the more valuable stillness becomes. In silence, you hear truth, your truth. You start to recognize what truly matters and what's just noise. That quiet moment of reflection each morning recalibrates your focus. It allows you to filter out distractions and tune into your purpose. The greatest thinkers, leaders, and innovators all understood the power of stillness. It's in those moments of calm that clarity emerges. And clarity is the sharpest weapon you can carry into your day. When you feed your mind first thing in the morning, you're investing in your growth before the world starts making withdrawals from your energy. What you consume mentally shapes how you perceive and react to everything else. A single page of a powerful book, a few minutes of an inspiring message, a thoughtful journal reflection. These are not small acts. They are seeds planted in the soil of your mind. Over time, those seeds grow into perspective, wisdom, and emotional strength. You stop reacting to life and start responding with power. You stop being driven by emotions and start being guided by purpose. Setting intention transforms random effort into meaningful action. You no longer drift through your day hoping things will turn out well. You direct your energy toward outcomes that matter. You become strategic instead of reactive. When you begin your morning with clarity on your goals, you bring precision to your actions. It's not about doing more. It's about doing what matters most. You start saying no to the things that drain you and yes to the things that move you forward. Intention creates direction, and direction creates progress. And then there's gratitude, the grounding force that keeps your ambition balanced. Gratitude doesn't mean settling or being complacent. It means staying connected to what's real. It reminds you of how far you've come, even as you strive for more. It protects you from the trap of comparison, the illusion that someone else's timeline defines your own. Gratitude keeps you present, steady, and humble. When you practice it daily, it transforms pressure into power. You stop seeing challenges as punishments and start seeing them as opportunities to grow stronger. But here's what's crucial. None of these habits work if they're temporary. You can't do them once and expect transformation. The magic happens in the repetition, the consistency, the moments when no one's watching and you still choose to do it anyway. That's where character is built. That's where winners separate themselves. Because it's easy to be disciplined when you feel motivated, but true growth happens on the mornings when you don't. When you're tired, unmotivated, maybe even discouraged, but you still get up, move, think, plan, and give thanks. That's the difference between a average and exceptional. Over time, these habits begin to compound. You'll notice your confidence rising, not because of external validation, but because you've proven something to yourself. You've shown yourself that you can be trusted, that you follow through, that you don't need inspiration, you need intention. And that's when real transformation happens. You begin to walk differently, speak differently, lead differently. You stop waiting for opportunities to appear. You create them. You stop hoping for luck. You rely on preparation. And preparation is everything. Your morning routine is your preparation for the battles of the day. It's your armor. When life throws you a challenge, you won't panic. You'll respond with clarity. When people test your patience, you'll stand grounded. When setbacks arise, you'll adapt without falling apart. That's the power of starting strong. It's not about perfection. It's about readiness. Every morning you win, you reinforce your identity as someone who leads, someone who adapts, someone who conquers. There will be days when you fall short, days when you oversleep, skip the workout, forget to center yourself. Don't use those moments to shame yourself. Use them to sharpen yourself. Discipline isn't about never failing. It's about never giving up. Every time you restart, you reinforce the muscle of resilience. You remind yourself that the standard doesn't change just because your emotions do. The key is to return to your habits again and again until they become part of who you are. You will start to notice that people begin asking what changed about you. They'll see the calm in your eyes, the confidence in your presence, the focus in your actions. But they won't see the mornings you spent building that foundation. They won't see the hours of silence, the early alarms. The truth is, most people underestimate the value of their first hour. They think success starts with the big moments, the presentations, the opportunities, the breakthroughs. But it doesn't. Success starts in the silence before the noise. It begins when you choose discipline over distraction, purpose over comfort. Every morning, you're training your brain to either dominate your day or be dominated by it. And those small decisions, repeated over time, define who you become. When you wake up early, you create time to think, to actually think. And that's a rare thing today. Most people wake up and immediately dive into reacting to messages, to news, to demands. But when you take control of that first hour, you separate yourself from the noise. You become intentional. You plan, you reflect, you set direction. You don't just survive the day, you shape it. And once you experience the clarity that comes from those quiet, uninterrupted moments, you'll never want to go back to chaos. Movement amplifies that mindset. It's not just about fitness, it's about fuel. When you push your body, you activate your mind. You become sharper, faster, more alert. Your brain releases chemicals that heighten focus and improve mood. It's like flipping a switch from sluggish to unstoppable. You start to notice how much more effective you are throughout the day, how you handle stress with ease, how your patience grows, how your energy doesn't fade by midday. The simple act of moving your body becomes a declaration. I am not here to coast through life. I am here to take charge of it. Silence continues to be your secret weapon. The world will always try to pull you into distraction, into urgency, into noise. But the person who masters silence masters power. In silence, you learn to listen to the thoughts behind your thoughts. You begin to separate truth from fear, purpose from doubt. That's where you find wisdom, not in endless scrolling, not in constant stimulation, but in stillness. You realize that stillness is not weakness, it's precision. It's your ability to pause, to think, to choose your next move with clarity instead of emotion. And when you feed your mind each morning, you give yourself an edge that most people never develop. You're not just filling your brain with information, you're expanding your capacity to lead, to solve problems, to innovate. Every page you read, every insight you reflect on, every powerful idea you internalize adds to your arsenal. You're equipping yourself for the challenges ahead. You stop being reactive and start being resourceful. You become the person who doesn't just endure change, you anticipate it. That's the power of mental growth. It doesn't just prepare you for the world, it helps you stay ahead of it. Intention then becomes your compass. When you wake up with intention, you take control of your direction. You stop letting random circumstances dictate your actions. You define what matters, and you protect your focus like it's sacred, because it is. You start asking yourself better questions. What am I building today? What do I want to feel proud of tonight? Who do I want to be when this day ends? Those questions shift your focus from surviving to designing. You begin living by design instead of default, and that is where power truly begins. And gratitude. Gratitude becomes your anchor. It keeps your ambition from turning into anxiety. It reminds you that progress is not just about what you gain, but who you become along the way. Gratitude teaches you to see the beauty in effort, the meaning in struggle, and the lessons in every setback. You stop seeing life as something happening to you and start seeing it as something happening for you. Gratitude doesn't make you passive. It makes you powerful. Because when you're grateful, you stop being easily shaken. You stop complaining. You stop focusing on what's missing and start using what's present. That shift changes everything. Over time, these habits become your identity. You don't need to think about them. They become instinctive. You wake up early because that's who you are now. You move because your body craves energy. You sit in silence because your mind values clarity. You learn because your spirit hungers for growth. You set intention because you lead yourself. You practice gratitude because you recognize your strength. These habits fuse into your DNA, And soon, they stop feeling like effort. They feel like alignment. You're no longer fighting to become someone different. You're simply becoming the person you were always meant to be. But here's the thing. This transformation doesn't happen overnight. It happens one morning at a time, one decision at a time, one choice to rise when it's easier to stay down, and every single time you make that choice, you're casting a vote for the life you want. Each repetition strengthens your resolve, each small victory builds your confidence. You start to realize that greatness isn't about one defining moment. It's about thousands of small ones stacked on top of each other. You'll notice that life begins to slow down, not because you're doing less, but because you're doing things that matter. You stop feeling rushed because your priorities are clear. You stop feeling overwhelmed because you're no longer living in reaction mode. You start living with flow, with rhythm, with purpose. Your days begin to align with your values, and that alignment brings peace, the kind of peace that no achievement or possession can replace. People will start to wonder what changed about you. They'll see you calm when others are anxious, focused when others are scattered, confident when others are uncertain. They'll call it luck or talent, but it's neither. It's preparation. It's the result of those early mornings, those quiet moments, those disciplined choices. You've trained your mind to operate at a higher level, and now it shows. That's the invisible work behind visible success. And here's the truth. You'll still face hard days. You'll still encounter doubt, fatigue, failure, but your habits will carry you through them. When the world feels uncertain, your routine becomes your anchor. When your emotions feel heavy, your structure gives you stability. When everything feels out of control, your discipline keeps you grounded. That's why these habits are more than practices. They're protection. They shield you from the chaos of the world by strengthening the calm within you. You will begin to realize that the success you're building isn't just about money, titles, or recognition. It's about mastery. Mastery of your mind, your emotions, your actions, your time. It's about walking through life, knowing that whatever comes, you have the inner tools to handle it. That's true power. That's what every morning is training you for. Not perfection, but resilience. Not ease, but endurance. And when that understanding finally clicks, mornings stop feeling like a task. They start feeling like a gift, a chance to rise, to grow, to refine, to lead. You no longer dread the alarm, you respect it, because you know what it represents. It's a call to show up for your potential, to honor your goals, to become the person you keep saying you want to be. Every sunrise becomes another opportunity to prove that you are serious about your future. That's when life begins to change, when your habits no longer feel like discipline, but like destiny. Because now, you don't just wake up to exist, you wake up to excel. You wake up to command your day before the world commands you. You wake up to lead, not just others, but yourself. And that's where true success begins, not in what you have, but in who you become, one powerful morning at a time. And as you continue down this path, you start to notice that what once required effort now feels natural. The early wake-ups that once challenged you become part of your rhythm. The workouts that once felt like a burden now feel like fuel. The silence that once made you restless now feels like home. You realize that growth isn't about making huge leaps every day. It's about mastering the art of repetition. It's about showing up with consistency, with patience, with commitment, even when the excitement fades. Because that's where transformation happens, not in the rush of motivation, but in the quiet of persistence. You begin to see that the people who rise to greatness aren't the ones who do the most. They're the ones who do what matters most, every single day. They don't need to talk about their goals because their habits speak for them. They don't chase the spotlight because they've learned that true success is built in the shadows, in the unseen hours, in the discipline no one applauds, in the choices no one notices. And you start to carry that same quiet confidence. You stop seeking validation because you've learned the value of self-respect. You stop proving and start performing. You stop chasing approval and start chasing mastery. Every morning becomes a new opportunity to reset your focus. You stop dragging the weight of yesterday into today. You stop allowing your failures to define your future. You use your mornings to release, to refocus, to realign. You remind yourself that each sunrise brings with it another chance to choose differently, to act with more intention, to move closer to who you're meant to become. And that's the beauty of these habits. They don't just create success, they create renewal. They teach you that no matter what happened yesterday, you still have the power to start again today. There's something extraordinary about starting your day before or the rest of the world. When the streets are still quiet, when the sun is just beginning to rise, when most people are still asleep, you're already in motion. You can feel the stillness around you, but within you, there's fire. That's when your mind is at its sharpest, your thoughts are at their purest, your energy is at its most focused. That's where clarity is born. You don't need noise to feel alive. You need purpose. And those early hours, when it's just you and your ambition, become sacred. Over time, these mornings become your foundation of strength. No matter what storms life brings, you return to them. When the world feels uncertain, your routine grounds you. When people disappoint you, your habits remind you that your power never depended on them. When you feel lost, your mornings guide you back to center. You learn that structure doesn't confine you, it frees you. It gives you the stability to face chaos without losing your peace. It gives you control in a world that constantly tries to take it from you. As these habits take root, your inner voice begins to change. The self-doubt that once whispered you weren't capable gets quieter. The fear that told you to wait fades into the background. You start to trust yourself, not because life got easier, but because you got stronger. You've proven that you can do hard things. You've shown yourself that you can follow through. You've built evidence of your own strength, and that evidence becomes your confidence. It's not arrogance, it's assurance, the kind that comes from doing the work when no one's watching. And then you start to see how these habits affect the way you lead others. When you walk into a room, people can feel your presence. You don't have to announce your authority. It's in your energy, your composure, your clarity. You've built credibility not through words, but through consistency. You become someone people can rely on because you've learned to rely on yourself. That's what leadership truly is. It's influence through example, not control through words. The discipline of the morning teaches you emotional control. You begin to realize that not every thought deserves attention, not every emotion deserves reaction. You learn to pause before responding, to assess before deciding, to think before speaking. That's what separates the impulsive from the intentional. Your morning silence trains your emotional intelligence, your ability to navigate difficult people and complex situations without losing your center. You stop being pulled by every external force because your internal anchor holds you steady. And that's where real strength lives, not in how much noise you make, but in how much composure you maintain. It's the calm that comes from knowing you've already done the work to prepare for whatever comes next. It's the confidence that comes from knowing you've built resilience into your routine. You don't fear challenge because challenge is what shaped you. You don't fear change because you've already learned to adapt. Every morning you conquered has been training you for moments like this. As you grow, you begin to notice how success and peace start to coexist. You don't have to choose between ambition and balance anymore because your mornings have taught you how to blend both. You can chase goals without losing your grounding. You can push forward without burning out because you've learned that discipline isn't punishment, it's protection. It protects your focus, your time, your energy, and your peace. You start living from a place of strength rather than stress. You also begin to develop a new kind of patience. You understand that progress takes time, and you stop rushing your evolution. You no longer compare your journey to someone else's highlight reel because you're too busy writing your own story. You see that greatness isn't about speed, it's about endurance. The one who keeps showing up always outlasts the one who burns out. You've learned that small steps every day eventually build massive change, and that's exactly what your mornings represent. Progress, one intentional step at a time. And as your habits strengthen, your world expands. New opportunities begin to appear. Doors you didn't even know existed start to open. People start trusting you with more responsibility, not because of luck, but because of reliability. You've become the person who shows up, who delivers, who doesn't make excuses. The same discipline that got you out of bed early has now positioned you to stand out in every room you walk into. You've earned respect without demanding it. These mornings become more than just routine. They become your foundation for identity. You stop saying, "I'm trying to be disciplined," and start saying, "I am disciplined." You stop saying, "I'm working toward success," and start saying, "I live with purpose." That language shift changes everything because it reflects the truth of who you've become. You're no longer chasing transformation. You are the transformation. You'll find yourself reaching moments of stillness during the day where you pause and realize just how far you've come. You'll remember the mornings when it felt impossible, when your alarm felt like an enemy, when your motivation felt empty. And you'll smile because you made it through. You learn to do what most people won't, show up for yourself, day after day, no matter what. That's not just habit, that's strength, that's self-respect, that's leadership over your own life. And then something powerful happens. You begin to inspire others without even trying. Your consistency becomes contagious. People see the discipline in you and start to question what's possible for themselves. Your actions become a silent invitation for others to rise. That's what true influence looks like. It's not telling others what to do. It's showing them through example that it can be done. You start to look forward to challenges because they no longer intimidate you. You see them as chances to test your growth, to apply your discipline in new ways. The fear of failure fades because you've learned that failure isn't final. It's feedback. It's part of the process. You've trained your mind to see obstacles not as stop signs but as checkpoints. You've built the kind of mental toughness that doesn't crumble, it recalibrates. And soon you realize that these 6 habits are more than morning practices. They're principles for life. They teach you discipline, focus, awareness, gratitude, strength, and self-mastery. They're not just habits to start your day, they're habits to build your character. The world will always change, challenges will always come, but the person who owns their mornings will always be ready. The more you live this way, the more you understand that success was never about doing more. It was about becoming more. And that's exactly what these habits help you do. They strip away the noise, the excuses, the distractions, until all that's left is clarity. You start living on purpose instead of by accident. You stop waiting for the perfect time because you realize the perfect time is now, in the next morning, in the next breath, in the next choice. You've built yourself from the ground up, and now you move with power, with purpose, with peace. You wake up not just to start the day, but to own it. You understand that these mornings are your weapon, your armor, and your freedom all at once. And with every sunrise, you prove again and again that you are not a product of chance. You are a product of choice.